It's time to talk about the elephant in the room. Hello everybody and welcome to another video. My name is the Goldman and today we're going to talk about the Book of Boba Fett and why chapter 5 was so strange. There is no secret analysis I need to do here. Everyone in their bantha knows how odd it is that this chapter of the Book of Boba Fett didn't feature Boba Fett at all, and it was basically a preview for the Mandalorian season 3. First, I want to describe why this is so weird for non-obvious reasons, then I will go into a bunch of different ways you can look at the reasons behind this, none of which is guaranteed to be true by the way, just my ideas. So why was this chapter not featuring Boba Fett so strange? Why was Mando being the face of this episode even more strange, and what does it say about the future of this series? Let's discuss. First, I want to begin by saying that it's not unusual that an episode of a series doesn't feature its main character. One of the best shows ever, Avatar: The Last Airbender, did contain an episode where Aang, the title character aka the Avatar and the Last Airbender, didn't show up, and it was an episode devoted solely to developing a supporting character. So even though this show is titled The Book of Boba Fett, it's not crazy that he didn't show up in an episode. As I previously hinted towards, usually when an episode forgoes featuring its main character, it's to try and heavily develop a supporting character. This is exactly what the Book of Boba Fett did with Mando. Mando is a supporting character in this series, and it did a lot of development for his creed and his character. So Goldman, if there has been a precedent set for this kind of storytelling, why is it so weird? What makes this situation so unusual? What makes this situation so unusual is not that it didn't feature Boba Fett, but that its entire focus was on Mando. Mando isn't simply a supporting character. He is a character that already has his own show, The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian has set up questions that the viewers have been dying to know the answers to. And while those answers were fairly satisfying, we got those answers in the Book of Boba Fett, not The Mandalorian. None of the fleshing out of the Mandalorian culture or Mando himself have anything to do with the story of this series. It's all to progress the story of a different one. It would be one thing if this episode was all about Bossk, for example, and it really fleshed out his character. This wouldn't have been a problem because Bossk doesn't have his own series that has an established story, and he hasn't hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Seriously though, it would mean the world to me if you guys destroyed the like button. In return for helping out this channel, here is a picture of a really cute baby lion. Another example would be if this episode solely focused on Fennec, who does have an established story, but that story matters a lot to the Book of Boba Fett. Because of this episode, not only is there a chapter of the Book of Boba Fett that feels off, but now you cannot watch The Mandalorian alone and understand his story 100%. There are cases where a character shows up in a different movie or show other than their own where things happen to them, but not crucial story points. Like in Captain America Civil War, Tony meets Peter Parker, which is important for his story, but it's not essential in understanding the events of Infinity War or Endgame. With this chapter of the Book of Boba Fett, we learn what really happened with the Night of a Thousand Tears, and we learn that Mando's creed no longer accepts him as a Mandalorian. This is crucial information for the story of the Mandalorian, and it doesn't happen in that show. What doesn't help this situation at all is that the reception of the first 4 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett have been mostly mixed. They haven't been extremely divisive like The Last Jedi, but there are people who have enjoyed this series and there are those who haven't. This chapter is widely regarded as the best chapter, and it has nothing to do with the story of this series. Now, I don't know if this is bad or not. There hasn't been a precedent set for this before, so I don't entirely know how to analyze it. On the one hand, it's objectively good storytelling and directing, but on the other hand, it's simply not in the right series. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, because I am probably as lost as you guys are. Now, why did this happen? Why did the storytellers decide to tell this story in this chapter of this series? Well, I have 2 ideas, and then I want to get into why the reception is the way that it is. The first idea that I have is that Lucasfilm is really treating the Star Wars shows like the MCU. In the Marvel films, we get films like Captain America Civil War that do feature important character beats of other titular characters like Iron Man. It's not essential, but now in order to 100% understand Iron Man's story, you need to go watch a Captain America movie. The same thing applies to Mando. In order to 100% understand Mando's story, you now need to go watch an episode of of the Book of Boba Fett. Again, I don't know if this should be considered good or bad or nothing. The other idea that I have is that this show literally was supposed to be The Mandalorian Season 3. You know how when the Book of Boba Fett was first announced, a lot of us were concerned that Din Djarin's story was over and that Season 3 was going to be all about Boba? Maybe this was actually the case. Because if this were the case, then an episode like this would make a lot more sense. This would simply be a Season 3 episode catching up on the protagonist of Seasons 1 and 2. I don't know how true this may be or not. From a storytelling perspective, it makes sense, but I don't know where in Lucasfilm's timeline they would have made the change to make this series its own series and not Chapter 3 of The Mandalorian. These ideas could both be fairly off. So again, let me know in the comments what you guys think about my ideas. I'm genuinely curious. I want to transition into talking about the reception. Again, the reception of the Book of Boba Fett hasn't been awful, but the reception of Chapter 5 is by far the best. Why was this episode so much better than the rest? And what does it say about Boba Fett as a character that by far the best episode in his series is the one that has nothing to do with him? Lucasfilm must low-key have a huge hard-on right now. Think about it. A character created by Disney themselves is widely more popular than the character he is based off of, which was created by George Lucas. Is it simply the case that Mando is a better character than Boba Fett? I don't know. Another factor to potentially blame is the directing. There have been 4 episodes that contain flashbacks, and these flashbacks are present in the story solely to develop Boba's character. But 1 episode of Mando's development captivated audiences far more than 4 of Boba's. Is the problem simply the first 4 episodes weren't directed as well as Bryce Dallas Howard's Chapter 5? Is the problem that Tamora Morrison's acting just isn't as great as we all hoped? I know it may sound harsh, but let's be real. It's not like there have been many scenes in the show where we go, man, the acting really carried that scene. It isn't bad, but maybe it's not good either. Now, this last hypothesis that I have is the one I believe to be the correct answer, but it could still very well be wrong. Is the reason behind all of this simply that Boba Fett is not an interesting enough character to get his own series? A lot of people love this character, and that's awesome, but maybe the reason so many people fell in love with him was because he was so mysterious and you barely knew anything about him. He was a masked man who had a cool job and a cool voice. Is it possible that that was what made so many people intrigued with his character? Maybe this character just wasn't designed to get his own series, so when he does, it doesn't work as well as we hoped. I'm not saying it's impossible for Boba to get his own series and have it be fantastic, but maybe it's harder than Favreau thought. Those are all the ideas that I have here. Again, let me know in the comments what you think about everything I said here. Are there comments I made that made no sense, or are there comments here that make everything make sense? Don't forget to check out my review on Chapter 5 and why it was so amazing if you want to hear some positive commentary on the series, or check out one of my other videos I have on this channel. Thank you everyone so much for watching another one of my videos. Don't forget to unite the Claude Squad, and I will see you guys next time.